again. Hold on while it's trying. Is it starting up? It says offline. Come on, you. Come on, do it. Do it. Reload the page, see if it's happening. Oh, sending data. YouTube. Hold on 1 second, guys. We'll do let's see, where is it? It's over here. Where is it? Oh, I don't have it in there. That's all right. It's sad. I feel like I should. Here you go. Just for old time's sake. Here we go. Just real quick. I'm just kidding. I'm back. Yay! Look at that. I want to say now that we're live on YouTube after literally 24 hours of flailing and wailing and gnashing of teeth, that I want to thank specifically all the people who watch on YouTube and the people who don't, who saw on Twitter what was going on and came to my defense and pushed back against this. And is it actually online? Let's see. I'm going to go to it, make sure I'm up before I don't want to count my chickens before they're hatched. Hey, look at that. What do you know? That's incredible. What are the odds? Wild. It's wild. So, let's see if I can monetize it. They've turned off monetizing. That's hilarious. Oh, there we go. Insert ad. How do you like that, YouTube? The other thing is, not only on top of that do I want to thank the people who fought to help me get back on and deal with this. And now I'm going to pop out the chat. Pop out the chat, mother truckers! But also all the trolls who are responsible for this and who are more than likely the ones who are intentionally doing medical misinformation strikes against me because I support the CDC guidelines, the WHO guidelines, the local ordinances, and the ability for companies to not only ask you to wear a mask still when you're indoors in their business without any pushback from some, right-wing government official, but also in many ways for companies to decide to only hire people who've been vaccinated or only allow people who've been vaccinated in their businesses. Because you have to understand, the Rand Pauls of the world are actually making the case that there is multiple occasions I've heard Rand Paul talk about the fact that though he doesn't think they'll be in business for very long, that's his wink and a nod, Rand Paul believes that any business should be able to discriminate based on race, religion, ethnic, or place of country of origin, any of that stuff, because they should have the right to do that because the business is their own sovereign territory in that regard. Now, that doesn't apparently apply to hiring people who haven't been vaccinated or taking or masked, but like Hobby Lobby should have all these rules about what it can provide for a man's body versus a woman's body as a secular employee of this company that does not ask religious questions of its employees and hires people who are not in its religion to work there because they're cheaper, I suppose, or more reliable. That's weird, but Rand Paul believes that you should be able to kick people out because they're black or Japanese or Chinese or Jewish or white for that matter. Let's just say if you run a the racist soul food restaurant in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Thank you, Sweet Indigo. And that's your business model, the entirety of your business model. Rand Paul's got your back. He believes that. He also believes that places like Mar-a-Lago and Bedminster should not have to let Jews be members if they don't want to. He believes that. That's what Rand Paul believes. But if they don't want to hire people who haven't been vaccinated, they need to be put out of business by whom? The government. So, libertarians. That's adorable. So let's see. Did I skip past this other guy? Yeah. So we're up on there again. Look at that. Fixed and fixed. So on top of that, by the way, I would like to thank all of the trolls that got us kicked off in the first place for your flailing waste of time that I was able to undo. Other channels maybe weren't able to, but me and the people who watched this show, we were all able to fix this in 24 hours. So thank you, Sparks Force. Good Lord. That's amazing. Hi, Janine. So welcome anybody who's watching on YouTube right now, and thanks for joining us. And sorry that we're late, but you know I was in YouTube jail for apparently being too pro-vaccine for some of the viewers. As Glenn Kushner would say, justice is back. No kidding. Yes. So thank you guys. That's crazy. There we go. So Carl, thank you so much. Bless you. And Hype Train, thanks. Don't forget, guys, though, if you can, and you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, subscribe on Twitch just to keep us afloat there. You know, that really helps. And if you can't, then there are people around who will gift subscriptions and that kind of stuff, and I thank them for that. That's very cool. Bits and all that flying. Thank you, the artist formerly known as Greg. Thank you. Yes, I was too pro-vaccine, apparently. And I actively attacked the anti-vaxxers. So they sent an army of people to give me community guideline strikes, which YouTube, if you are listening, I am in no way guilty of. Not this one, not next episode, not the one after that. Turn up your sarcasm meter, understand if-then arguments, because I think that's more than likely what got me in trouble with the algorithm when they checked it in the first place, was that they hear me speaking, but there's no like sarcasm tone, irony tone. They couldn't possibly. I don't know how they would even float that. So anyways, thank you guys so much. Holy smokes.
Those
now back to the awful.
Incredible fallen soldiers.
The incredible fallen soldiers?
Soldiers.
Wait, hold on. Say that again.
Incredible fallen soldiers.
Oh, that was a fallen. You're just choking on your own tongue.
Since the founding of our country. All of those men and women who served our country to preserve our freedoms, to fight for the Constitution, to fight for the Republic that so many of us love and hold dear. And
yeah, all of us.
I just wanted to make sure that we all remember that on this weekend, when our
on this weekend,
leadership now is just, hey guys, enjoy the holiday weekend.
Really? Is that what our leadership's like now?
You know, that's great. Everyone wants to do that. But I think we have to also acknowledge and recognize the sacrifices that so many have made, the ultimate sacrifice, so that we can live in our country.
Yes, stop patting yourself on the back. And by the way, let's just say you want to make a nice Memorial Day video about stuff and about how no one else takes it seriously, but you do. And you know that your dad's followers are 100% QAnon. They're all in on his crazy conspiracy theories. And instead of being in front, out in your yard in front of the American flag you have hanging in front of your house or something like that, or even in the backyard because you don't want to show your address, that makes sense. I have nothing against that. Where do you do your Memorial Day video from? The one that really shows us that you've been thinking about this and you're thinking they don't take this shit seriously enough. Where do you do it? Well, you do it at the dining room table in the guest room. In the guest house part of the property by the trash can next to the HP toner holder, because you want to make you want to make this point about how seriously you take it. The what?
With our freedoms and all of the things that we've been blessed with. I know for me, it's why I actually
fly to other countries and stake down exotic animals, of which there are very few on the planet. No, that's not it. What else? Set up deals in China and Russia with your brother and pretend they don't exist. No, that's not it. Help your sister avoid trade tariffs on stuff she has made in China. No, that's not it. What is it?
Have stayed involved, in the political game. It's why I could.
Oh, that's right. Guys, that's why he does it for the fallen. That's why he stays involved in the political game. And by staying involved, he means making contrived little shitty videos on Rumble for pay.
I continue to comment, For those of you who don't know,
That's why you continue to comment. Yeah, just he's on the front lines of the flame wars. He's got the scars to prove it.
Not exactly popular to be a conservative pro-Second Amendment guy as a real estate developer from New York City.
By the way, first of all, I'm going to need a citation on all three of those things. I don't believe you're conservative by any stretch of the imagination. I think you glom on to the illusion of conservatism because you think it makes you look macho somehow, and that you believe that being liberal has been so associated with socialism or something that it seems like communism and it would be just a drag. But not that you give a shit about true conservative things. Also, you're not a Second Amendment supporter, or you care about the part that says well-regulated militia. You're one of those assholes that conveniently forgets the value of a well-regulated militia. And the well-regulated phrase that you guys, keep bear arms shall not be infringed. A well-regulated militia will not be, it'll obviously have some regulations. A lot of them, quite frankly, more so than you'd think. And Guy, I think I wouldn't question that he's male, but I wouldn't go with Guy.
Originally, but that's why I'm moving out of the People's Republic of New York and moved to Florida.
Is that why? Or is it because you literally, like your dad, have zero friends, and at your age you can literally uproot and leave everything behind because you will miss no one and no one will miss you? I want you guys to think about that for a second. Think about how many times you've thought about packing up and moving to another city, especially if it's a city you've grown up in your entire life. I've been spending a lot of time in Vegas. Summer and I are very happy here, and it's great, but I miss LA all the time. And while I'm in LA, I miss Chicago like crazy. And I have people spread all over this fucking country that I love and that I get along with, and we have a wonderful time. We get to see each other. So the idea of uprooting again gets harder and harder every time I do it. These fuckers could pack every memory they have that they care about in a fucking briefcase and be gone in an hour. The Trumps, think about this. The Trumps have zero fucking friends. I do miss LA. I love LA. I'm not kidding. And I will be back there a lot. That's not the thing. Seriously. Think about this, though. You're like, that's why we're moving. You're moving to Florida to live next to your dad because you have nothing on your own. You're a third-generation slumlord who gloms a living off your father's branding business on a brand that is dying. That's why you moved to Florida. You didn't move because New York, the city that you love. These assholes don't give a shit. I do love Toronto very much. This is what friends? What friends does this asshole have? Really? I don't mean acquaintances. I don't mean people who want to suck up to his dad, who put up with his bullshit because they want to be around other rich people. I mean legit. 3 a.m. phone call friends. I have dozens of them. And I am that friend for dozens of people. And I wish I could hug all of them every day, and they're spread out all over the country. This fucker could go, New York. After his whole life in New York. What? I mean, really.
And I'll stay in the game because all of those
things are
worth fighting for. The things that so many of those great
That's why they're worth fighting for, because it's a game. Jesus. If it was more than a game, I wouldn't. Thank you. I do indeed love Canada. There's a lot of wonderful memories there. Yeah. I mean, I just too many to list. And I have to say, Canada, you'll notice there was this whole like name of, a great song by a great band that's underappreciated. And I just I listed like 8 Canadian bands. Oh, thank you. Due to YouTube. Oh, thanks, Luis. Thank you so much. Bless you. That it was all Canadian artists because they don't get their due. And I have to say that being friends with Danko Jones, who I loved his music. I discovered it when I was there doing Queer as Folk. I went into a Canadian record store and CD store and just bought a bunch of local music so I could go see live music while I was there. Because I get along with the cast, but we didn't party in the same venues. I go to rock shows, they go to dance clubs, or smoke weed while listening to Tom Waits albums. Like, it's a different crowd. And I grew up with Rush and Triumph and Bryan Adams, and I genuinely, and come at me, bro, like Nickelback, and I love Theory of a Dead Man, and like Default. There was a bunch of guys up there that were just terrific, and really fell in love with Danko Jones. And Todd Kearns had a band called Static and Stereo, and I just loved that band. And then a fan, this girl Sarah, who knew all about, she's Canadian, knew all about that stuff, went and like found all these, like, oh, if you like him, you should hear his old stuff, and hooked me up with like Todd Kearns' back catalog, like showed me what was there, and I was like, this is just awesome. And now I'm friends with Danko and with Todd years later, and it's just so nice. It's just great. Big Wreck is fucking amazing. Yes. Oh my God. And the Thornley record, forget about it. So like I went off on the Canadian, like, so, and I was only there for 6 fucking years. That city still breaks my heart, and I loved it. Right? So the fact that this asshole at his age can go, fuck it. Right? Right?
Great men and women laid down their lives for.
Facebook's not allowing the moderator page to work? It's always something.
Are worth fighting for. What they laid their lives down for should not go passing into the night.
Jesus Christ. Dude, you're too old to try poetry at this point in your life.
We all need to stay engaged. We all need to make sure we get that.
Yeah, guys, stay in the game. It's worth fighting for. Yeah, I'm looking into the mod page. There's been some big changes there on Facebook's live dashboard. It's very weird. And I don't quite know why. Oh, wait, hold on. See if... There it is, home. There you are. Okay, now it's there. Yeah, I do not know why that is. I will look into it after there. Sorry.
That message out there. For those of us who...
Get that message out there. You know, like, dickless this whole message is. He's just trying to dunk on Kamala Harris for saying have a great weekend or whatever. Enjoy the long weekend. Never mind the fact that the actual work they did, her giving the commencement at the Naval Academy, all that kind of stuff. They don't care about people who gave their lives. Guys, only I do. That's why I fly over to Africa and go to game farms where they allow me to shoot leopards while they're staked to a tree.
Share sort of my...
It's kind of like I really... I have some combat experience. I once went to Alaska to shoot a bear, and it wasn't even, like, the cage it was in was barely surrounded by cement.
My conservative political beliefs, we have to work...
What conservative political beliefs?
Even a little bit harder. Obviously,
Boo-hoo.
we've seen, the system.
Has Cam cut his hair yet? No. Cam's hair is not quite as long as mine, but close.
Cancel culture, the mainstream media,
Yeah, guys. I mean, sure, the Battle of the Bulge was rough, but this guy has had to deal with cancel culture, guys. His dad was kicked off of Twitter. How is that any different from the guys who liberated Auschwitz?
Pop culture, Hollywood, they'll do what they can to cancel us, to shut us down, to limit our reach, to limit our platforms.
And that's why you're stuck on Rumble in the middle of the afternoon. What? Is that a USB cable right there? So the printer in question isn't even fucking plugged in? It's not even hooked up to your laptop? Would you move it? Did you move it from... You had it sitting up there in front of the mirror so you could check your hair before you sat down?
But we have to keep going. We
shave your neck.
have to overcome to, again, preserve those freedoms.
The freedom to tweet, fire in a crowded theater.
We are about freedom. We're about choice. We're about the things that...
Unless you mean pro-choice, like a woman's choice, then we're not. No, fuck that. And of course we're for freedom, but unless you're, gay or you want to get married or if you want to vote, in any place. You're free to not, I guess, because you can't.
Americans hold so dear. And
put
yet,
the U.S. cable in the printer back there to make him look busy. This is his equivalent of that pile of shit paperwork that's behind him.
You look at the other side.
It's a USB-V card. Oh my God, he's been hacking into Dominion machines.
Especially over the last year, it feels like they're pushing an authoritarian regime.
Yeah, an authoritarian. Yeah, that's it's. If those of you don't know, it's based on Dudley Moore's character in that movie.
Upon us, they'd be okay with that. Give up your freedoms, give up your lives. You will listen to, God, Dr. Fauci. And give me a
God, Dr. Fauci?
break.
Yeah, right. Why would you listen to a doctor?
This nonsense is happening, though, guys, and it's getting harder and harder. So stay in.
Yeah, it's so hard, guys. So stay involved. Don't forget to rumble me.
The game. Stay involved. Make sure you're sharing our message. Make sure you're...
What's our... Oh, you mean your videos? Oh, so this isn't really about Memorial Day and fallen soldiers. This is just you... Oh, then it makes more sense, the environment that you're filming in. Dude, thank you. It makes it... Sorry, now, you know what? I was judgmental. I thought you were actually doing a genuine, Memorial Day message that actually was something you gave a shit about. And so I couldn't figure out, you just kind of slapping this shit together between a toner cartridge and the garbage can in a half-empty guest house room at your dad's resort. And now I get it. This is an ad for your Rumble. I'll get it. Now I know.
Sure you're helping guys like myself get our message out there.
Guys like myself? There are no guys like yourself. There are no dudes who their brother-in-law owns, was part owner in a $1.2 billion building in downtown New York, who are now sitting in their dad's guest house doing videos pretending to give a shit about fallen soldiers. That's who during that message couldn't even be bothered to move to a nicer environment that is more conducive to the actual message itself, and doesn't show a fucking garbage can in the back. And shave your neck the next time you're gonna do it. Do it by Armistice Day.
I think that's fundamental in all of this, to make sure that our kids grow up in a country that we recognize with the freedom.
Oh, you mean gilded furniture and stuff and trophy wives and hundreds of millions of dollars of debt and under the table deals with Russia and China, that kind of stuff? That kind of? Okay, yeah. It would be a shame if your kids didn't recognize that.
Freedoms that we hold so near and dear, with all of the things that, in my opinion, are at risk right now, that those incredible men and women laid their lives down for. So let's...
Yeah, don't forget to say that again. Near the garbage can, in front of the half-empty shelf, in the corner of your dad's golf chalet, near the toner cartridge in the spare dining room.
Let's acknowledge what this weekend is about. Let's acknowledge what those people gave up their.
It's the weekend isn't about it. It's a long weekend because Memorial Day falls on a Monday. The day is about that, not all weekend. I mean, people go to, they take trips to go visit the graves of their relatives and in some cases their ancestors, depending on how far they go back on this weekend. But it's Memorial Day, dumbass.
Their lives for. And let's acknowledge that it is worth continuing that fight and staying in it. So please, keep at it. Let's make sure we win this.
Is there a plane going on overhead? There is.
One, because America
He's a cabana boy.
is worth fighting for. Our freedoms are worth fighting for.
Anita, my cat is looking at me like I lost my mind because I'm yelling at my phone. Yeah,
Our children's
Murphy, I'm sure, wonders what's going on in here.
futures are worth fighting for. And there's not that many people in the fight these days, folks.
No, there really isn't. It's basically just you and Kimberly's only, she's really phoning it in. I haven't even seen any of her rumbles. What the fuck, dude? Really? And Eric, is he even trying? Your dad's even, he called into Dick Morris's show, but he's done one on-camera interview in the last 2 months. So you're it, man. It must be that burden you're carrying on your shoulders. It's terrible.
They've just been bullied.
Oh, congrats on the new baby, grandbaby.
Pushed aside, canceled. If enough of us get together and keep fighting and keep spreading that message, they can't cancel us. So please make sure you take some time to
share your rumbles, you fucking asshole. This is, it's bad enough that he thought he was dunking on the vice president by saying this. This is it. Yes, Susan, I saw that, but I can't access it right now due to something weird on let's see. They've moved on Facebook. They have, let's see, hold on. Moderator dashboard is doing, okay. They updated all of those new moderations we found right in Live Player. Yeah, the Live Player page is being weird. So I apologize for that, guys. I'll look into that. I am aware on Facebook, but yeah.
What this weekend is all about. Make sure you take some time to explain it to your children.
Guys, I know you're only 7 and 8, and I don't know, you're her kid, so I don't really know how old you are. But people fought in this country and they died so that your granddad could deny black people the ability to rent in his buildings. Now, stop crying, stop crying. It's also why I'm able to fly, guys, settle, fly to Africa twice a year to shoot an animal just because there's less than 1,000 of them on the whole planet. That's what Memorial Day is all about. That's right. Yeah. And so that I can have sex with Gavin Newsom's cast-offs. I'm just saying. Sloppy seconds of the governor of California is something I've done 3 times in my life. The first 2, I'm not proud of it.
So that they know and recognize it. There's not a lot of people, it seems, these days at the upper echelons of government or otherwise who actually like America. That's my opinion. And
I don't like America. I love America. And I'll stand up my actual feelings, the warts and all love that I have for this country, up against his bullshit flag-waving fakery any day.
And there's plenty of those who would cancel and try to suppress anyone who is for it. So let's get together and make.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, he is right there. There's lots of these fake patriots on YouTube that attempted to troll me out of existence by giving me a community strike. Hi, YouTube. By the way, have you figured out that I don't support the suggestion that this asshole just made, that Dr. Fauci is viewed as a god by people instead of just a medical professional that's helping to save lives? See where I differ? Do you get that? Do you understand that? Robot listening to the sound of my voice right now. Do you understand?
and make sure that they don't get away with it. Have a great weekend, and make sure we're all thinking about exactly what it stands for. Thanks.
Well said, man. Thanks for getting your thoughts together, waiting till the plane flew overhead, and not having a trash can in the background while you pitch your rumble on the back of Memorial Day. Fuck you.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, I have a good one. Better than yours. Sorry. Gross. Honest to God. Just gross. By the way, there is that I know some of you are referencing the story about let's see, Trump thinking he's going to be reinstated in August, and he actually, it's interesting because let's see. I know that the New York Times, because Maggie Haberman tweeted about it, but this article, Maggie Haberman, Trump telling people he expects to be reinstated as president by August. Now, he is, first of all, not going to be reinstated as president anytime. He's also not going to run in 2024. If he did, he'd lose. This is all so insane that it hardly charts mentioning, except on a show like mine where we love to mock this kind of nonsense. But it is not happening. And the reason he thinks this, by the way, though, the reason why this is stuck in his head is because of, and why he used those exact words was because Sydney Powell, let's see, whoops, there you go, I can type. Sydney Powell used those words in that like weird, let me see if I can find the full video of it. Let's see if they, okay, so this is Newsweek's take on it. Let me see if, and they have an ad going, so give me 1 second while they bring this up. But this is from Newsweek. 1 second, and frozen. So here we go. This is
in history. First of all, there have been some very firm.
This is an older one though. Okay, but she said recently, do they have the actual video of her at that event? It was on Twitter. I'll have to find it. I thought Newsweek, why would you let me down? Naveed Jamali, what is happening? All right, so let's see. I'll find it on there because that video is pretty hilarious. Because I don't like when I first saw it, I was like, something along the lines of somewhere there's a biker riding down the freeway going with a shirt on the back with written on the back. It says, "If you can read this, my old lady fell off," and he's looking over his shoulder, going, "Sid." Right. So, I don't know why she's wearing colors, like she just came from a biker bar. Yeah, Sydney Powell reinstated. Here it is. The videos. Yeah, so we'll pause this 1 second, and I'll show you what I mean. So this guy right here, she's at the Memorial Day weekend, Dallas, Texas, Forgotten Country Patriot Roundup. Which, by the way, all these people believe in, that there's a Q-level conspiracy going on in the deep state, blah, blah, blah. So why you would all gather in one place is beyond me. You know what I mean? But yeah.
We're in uncharted territory.
We're definitely in uncharted territory. There are cases.
Yes, you're in Dallas.
Where elections have been overturned, but there's never.
Yeah, why is she? Did they give her a Bikers for Trump jacket, or does she straight up roll? What happened?
Been one at the presidential level, which everybody.
Yeah, no, and there won't be.
Will jump to point out that doesn't.
Yes, no one has to jump to point it out. As a matter of fact, Sydney, no one is jumping to point out that you're wrong about anything. I would like to say that for the record. People are in passing mentioning that everything you say is bullshit and none of it will actually pan out. You know what I mean? There's not like, wait a minute. Nobody is actually reacting to Sydney Powell that way. Everybody's like, what the fuck is she talking about? Anyways, should we get bread for the table or?
Doesn't mean that it can't be done, though. There's
Yeah, it kind of does.
always a first case, and as far as I know, this is the first case of abject fraud and obtaining a coup of the United States of America.
Well, I mean, an attempted one, if you're talking about January 6th, that failed miserably, you know, and it's, you know, the only people that were harmed, of course, you know, apparently blue lives don't matter to your crowd, but we'll get to that later.
So it's going to have to be dealt with.
Yeah, definitely. And she's the lady to do it.
It should be that he can simply be reinstated, that a new
Yeah, I mean, it should be, you know, in a perfect world.
inauguration date is set.
Yeah, don't clap, guys. She's about to let all the air out of your balloon.
And Biden is told to move out of the White House. And
Yeah, that's totally gonna happen. What do her patches say? She's got an ace of hearts, an American flag, and I mean they're too small and blurry on this video for me to pick up. Right in here, this is a lot. We're gonna need somebody needs to find a close up of this.
and
By the way, thank you guys for flying me here and getting, you know, paying for all my accommodations so I can tell you this bullshit.
and President Trump should be moved back in. I'm sure there's not going to be credit for time lost, unfortunately, because the Constitution itself sets the date for inauguration.
That's true. It's Trump's, you know, it's Trump's bad luck that from the day after the election till when Biden was sworn in, Trump did not take advantage of being president in any meaningful way, and just let it all, you know, kind of run on its own, like on an autopilot. So he'll never get that time of his term back. You're right.
But he should definitely get the remainder of his term and make the best of it. That's for sure.
The best of it. Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to. You do know this is Trump we're talking about, right? You know he is literally a professional fuck up. Like he's lived the rich boy life. You know, he's Peter Principled himself all the way to the top. But every single situation, it's fallen apart. Fallen apart. Whose old lady is she in the biker jacket? Yeah. Well, that's what I was saying.
That he can simply be
reinstated. Okay. So this is an even shorter version of it on there. How come nobody has the big long one? This is the They took it down. I don't have permission to view it. What in the world? Check your connection. I can't see it. It ain't letting me have it. Oh no. Where is this whole like? Did they post this whole thing? Because this, I mean, some of this shit has got to be gold. CSL, we need to kind of deep dive in and see if we can find one of these whole segments. The fact, do you understand how? Can I just tell you? I mean, it's bad enough that they're saying all this shit, that there's a deep state that destroyed the president of the United States, that millions of people voted illegally, that all this stuff they're selling. But you have to understand. They believe all that happened, or at least they're selling the idea that all that happened. And yet they'll still sit in an auditorium in front of a big crowd of people talking shit like this, telling them that, you know, they'll disappear people and that the government, the jackbooted thugs from the UN are coming any day now and all this stuff is happening. And yet somehow they think they're safe because they monetize this nonsense. It was gold? Oh my God. How's she not disbarred? I don't know. because it's Texas. Yeah, so that, anyways, crazy pants. All right, so, you know, when we did our video about Steven Crowder the other day, it was a little longer than, it made me go long in the show. And I was almost shocked that in talking about that one, that I personally thought that it was something I said during that segment because we were covering so many topics and it was all over the place and they say so much stuff and then they were using copyrighted clips that they didn't clear and he's not using the fair use framing like I do. Hi, this is fair use. It was when I take a video and I put it in the window this big, not the whole screen, put it in this video, and then I feature very prominently, and then I have my logo and this over there. So no one will believe that I'm just taking someone else's product and slapping it onto my YouTube channel and trying to sell it. That's what fair use means. That's how fair use works. This is fair use. Fair use robot that is listening to the sound of my voice right now. And the reason it is because I put it in this small box, and whatever they put in that small box, I am commenting on. And very little of it goes more than a sentence without me saying something, right? So we did the one where the John Oliver piece, and we got a copyright tag on that because of the clips they were using because they didn't fair use it properly. So, I mean, I was like, I don't know, the next time we're going to end up doing a crowded with Loudermilk, amosexual video again. But, and by the way, like I said, he's the right-wing Jimmy Dore, and they both like the idea of, they both use neon sign graphics. Have you noticed that? So anyways, a lot of overlap, I'm just saying. But in doing that video, I was like, I don't know when we'll be doing that again, but apparently, the hell with that. Steven Crowder literally has Rudy Giuliani on. I mean, it's a twofer. And apparently, I wish I could show you the, whenever you click on the video, the thumbnail comes up first. I wish the thumbnail would either, start at the beginning on a lot of these videos to show it and then go on so I could show you what it says. But it literally was like the man, the myth, the legend. We got Rudy. First of all, Rudy will go anywhere. There's no get there. It would be amazing if Rudy came on my show because I push back on his bullshit. But in terms of, like, the idea that Rudy wouldn't go on Louder with Crowder, are you kidding me? It's like asking if he'd go on Newsmax. Who cares? I don't know why the music is playing so loud and I do the thing. And it's very, very loud and I don't know why.
Louder with Crowder is brought to you in part by .com.
I didn't even say it. We have Rudy Giuliani on the show.
Yeah, it's amazing. How did you manage that? I mean, in between his stints on his own Common Sense thing, I mean, like, and in between FBI interviews. I mean, I guess it is hard.
Yeah, you did. By the way, that's a nice shirt there, Steve.
Oh yeah, it's available. Yeah,
got
Crowder
some
shop.
really cool shirts there.
Only two genders.
There are only two genders.
I mean, sure, I don't believe it, but I'll wear it.
Our guest who's
there's and by the way, he can make that decision about anyone inside that shirt. So I will not question that there are two genders living inside of Steven Crowder's shirt right now, and which ones those are, I have no idea. I think it might be is there man boy gender and human clam gender. I think that might be of the 57. I'm not keeping track.
Who's coming in. Very happy to have him. Of course, you know him as America's mayor, and we have a lot of
nobody knows him as that anymore. No
questions to get to. He's, I mean, just so many questions. Are going to bring him in, Mayor Giuliani.
This is the hippest intro he's ever gotten. Meanwhile, did I tell you how black culture is terrible? Like the fact that Steven Crowder uses this as intro music, if you hear anything that any of his long conversations about the black community, is hilarious.
All right, his show is the Common Sense Podcast on YouTube, and you can.
Well, I don't think it's on YouTube right now. Actually, I think it's just on Rumble.
Follow him on Twitter at Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Mayor Giuliani, how are you, sir?
How do you get censored on the live chat? I don't know. Oh, You might if you swear in. I don't know. Maybe they changed the settings when they shut my station off, and I have to fix them.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
I am.
Look at this. I've improved my lighting. The framing is amazing. You can see the glory hole. I swear to God, I am expecting somebody from Laugh-In to lean out and go, eh.
I am doing well. Well, I'm a little sick, and I was talking about this. It turns out the only thing I know is that I don't have COVID. Turns out the common cold is still a thing, so watch out for it.
You don't have COVID.
I know. I leave it to me to go against the grain.
You don't have a mask on.
I don't have a mask on.
I'm getting off the show. I can catch up.
Yeah, I know. It goes through cameras. I mean, hey, well, actually, if you're going to be
so charming, it's just, you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, I've forgotten what real friendships look like.
Concerned about any sort of viruses transferring digitally, from what I understand, you still have Hunter Biden's laptop.
Do you? Does he? Does he now?
I do.
Yeah.
You do? Really? Because the FBI had a warrant for all communication devices, and that they would have taken the laptop if you had it. Why do you still have it? And why in the world have you been harboring evidence for over 2 years? By the way, he doesn't have the laptop. That's a lie.
Okay, so I have some questions for you. By the way, my guys, yeah, well, I know you showed it on this show first, and I was like, whoa, that's...
I've got two hard drives that...
You have 2 hard drives? What laptop has 2 hard drives? Has anybody here ever had a laptop that has 2 hard drives? Anybody?
Produce it, and it's the only...
Sorry, what? What? You what now? Sorry, I have to, that's the volume. 1 second.
I've got two hard drives that reproduce it, and it's the only...
2 hard drives that reproduce it.
Only incriminating evidence in my house, and the FBI didn't want it.
Right, okay. So this is my...
By the way, there were 3, if you'll recall, there were 3 when he was first on, I think it was on Tucker Carlson's show. There were 3 hard drives. Now there's 2. They allegedly have criminality and child porn on them. So Rudy has sold one of the 3. So he's down to 2.
This is my question for you. The FBI raided your house. Now,
yep.
And you were...
They missed the only incriminating...
What is that a lamp literally in front of you? Is that why it's so goddamn bright? What is the edge? What are we seeing?
Any evidence?
Well, no, they didn't. Miss. We're being a little generous with the terminology. What did they claim was their reason for raiding your house?
I didn't file a FARA, Foreign Agents Registration Act form for representing a Ukrainian, well, that I didn't represent.
Oh.
But they claim I did, I guess. Not only didn't I represent him, I referred him to somebody else to represent who's willing to certify that. Tried to explain this to them for 2 years. Instead, they
while Trump was president? That's weird.
Surreptitiously went into my iCloud account for a year and a half.
And discovered that you were lying to them and managed to convince a grand jury of this and got a warrant for all of your communication devices that while you were allegedly the president's lawyer / former lawyer, and at that time they raided your house, took every electronic device, including your wife's laptop. And by the way, this is the first time I've ever heard anybody say he showed it to them first on that show. I call bullshit. I think he held up his wife's laptop. Prove me wrong. But Rudy has no laptop, changed my mind. There you go. How about that? We'll do that. Crowder and Rudy Giuliani and I can sit around, and there is no Hunter Biden laptop, change my mind. Literally.
Basically, the starting date they went in is the day I began representing President Trump.
Yeah. He told you they just filed this thing, and you said, quick, give me $1 and say you're my lawyer. And that counts as a retainer, and therefore everything we've talked about now is I can hide from them in case we get a subpoena, and that'll cover both of our asses. You think Rudy, you think you're the first guy to pull that shit? Weird, it was the same day. I mean, I became his lawyer 3 hours after they filed, and 2 hours after Trump had a meeting with his national security advisor, who had spoken to one of his buddies in the DOJ who had told him about it illegally, but...
Right.
So basically, they invaded my iCloud account to spy on all of the deliberations I had with the president, preparing him for, avoiding or beating the phony Russian collusion impeachment.
Right. And here's one thing.
Outrageous. I mean, at any other time in American history, this raid would be thrown out as illegal and they'd be fired.
Right.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. As a matter of fact, you'd be in the process of being disbarred already.
And it's just ironic that, of course, they're talking about the Ukraine here and leaving Hunter Biden's laptop.
That what laptop? They didn't leave it. It doesn't exist. It wasn't there. I call bullshit. He said he had 2 hard drives. He said he still got the laptop. Where is it? The FBI made him open his safe there and at his office. Where's he keeping it? Is he hiding other electronic devices from the FBI wherever he's hiding Hunter Biden's laptop? They don't give a shit about hard drives because those aren't communication devices and they already have access to his iCloud. There is no Hunter Biden laptop. Change my mind.
My question to you, too, is I think you know this, right? If you had any crack benders of you smoking parm or child pornography in your cloud, that would be released.
Sorry. Oh, okay. Sorry. Child pornography? So Stephen, you think it's real? You think there's real child pornography on there? That are not just girls that look underage to Rudy, but real ones? Because if that's the case, then this asshole, quote, reproduced the hard drive that he's talking about at least 3 times, if not more. He's still retaining 2 of them. One of them has been given away or sold, in which case Rudy Giuliani is owning, copying, and distributing child pornography. I mean, allegedly for the tool of political blackmail, but it didn't work. So what's he keeping it now for? Why is Rudy keeping 2 hard drives with child porn in them in his home at all times so that he can access them all the time, except for the prurient interest and whacking material? What is that? Dead serious. Stephen Crowder, explain to me why you are talking to a child pornographer and you think it's cute. What laptop? What laptop? And the fact that he's making copies of it, and as a former DA, as the former head of SDNY, this asshole doesn't know that's illegal. This asshole doesn't know that that's evidence tampering. This asshole doesn't know that just by possessing the Hunter Biden laptop for as long as he has had it in his private possession and representing the political rival of the father who's the alleged owner of this, of the alleged owner of this actual laptop, that laptop, if it had actual tangible evidence, metadata that would link these files and make them prove real in a court of law, that because of Rudy Giuliani's possession of them, they would be thrown out in court by a first-year law student for a $10 filing because he's not a trustworthy source. The chain of evidence is completely fucked because of Rudy Giuliani. How is it that both of you are this fucking dumb? Continue.
Be released so quick it would make your head spin. So I'm guessing they didn't find much.
Yeah, they didn't find anything. They didn't find Hunter Biden's laptop because it doesn't exist. And they don't give a shit about external hard drives, which may or may not have been there. And he's making up that whole bullshit story. And again, if they're real and it's even a copy of the fake stuff. Let's say that the Russians, when they break into shit, they often don't just take stuff. They also put negative stuff in. I mean, the places that they were hacking for vaccine material in our country, they were putting in bad science to muck things up and slow our process down. So you had to weed back through all that stuff. They'll also do that if they're blackmailing somebody or if they're trying to control them. They will hack in and put stuff in there and then call the police and go, this dude's got... It's like leaving drugs at a scene and then calling the cops and going, this guy's got drugs in his apartment when you threw him through the fucking window. Same thing. It's just the cyber version because it's easier. But the fact that this asshole made multiple copies of real and or perceived child porn, if he believes it's real, he committed a crime by copying it. If he believes it's real, he committed a crime by disseminating it. If it isn't real, he's committing fraud. He could certainly be sued for slander.
Well, they've had it for, my gosh, about 2 years now.
No, they've had a copy of it for 2 years now. And they haven't acted on it because they looked at the metadata and went, oh, this is all Photoshop deepfake bullshit.
Right.
I mean, they went back to May 1st, 2018. And they got my entire iCloud.
Right. So let me get the timeline right, Rudy. You bring in a copy. You give the FBI. You go to the FBI and you go, I found this laptop. It belongs to the son of a guy who's running, more than likely going to be running for president. And on it, I found evidence of criminality and what looks to me like child porn. Well, holy shit, give it to us. Well, no, I made a copy for you guys. Where's the original? I have it. I'm kidding. I'm going to keep it. What? You're going to what? Yeah, I'm going to keep the original files of child pornography at my house so I can make other copies. But here's a copy. Well, how do we know that's real? You do realize digital copies can be manipulated, and you could have gotten the real hard drive and then added stuff to the copy, and just filled the photo file on there with a bunch of shit and deep fakes and manipulated things and stuff you downloaded off your own hard drive and put on there. And you're just going to give us the copy. We would like to look at the original laptop. No, you can't do that. No. Here's a copy. Gives a copy. They get the copy. And let me get this. Stop me if you've heard this one, Rudy. He gives the FBI a copy of the Hunter Biden laptop hard drive, and then a couple months later, after they've checked it out, they get a warrant for his iCloud because of more than likely what they found on the fake hard drive he gave them.
Remember, I'm a lawyer. I practice law.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you're never going to get good at it at this rate.
That iCloud, a good deal of that iCloud is attorney-client privilege.
Right.
Yes, and that's why they have a special master or whatever to come in and look at what's covered and what isn't. Mob lawyers are not protected by attorney-client privilege. If you're found to be engaged in the criminality with your client, or you're aware of criminality that you have a legal obligation to report, if you know of future crimes that are going to be committed by your client, you have an obligation as an officer of the court to report them. If you don't, then all your attorney-client privilege goes in the shitter.
Right.
Not only that, aside from breaking into my apartment at 6 a.m.
They didn't break into your apartment. They knocked. You remember this? Let's see if he walks it back again. This is the same shit from last time. Remember, they practically broke the door down, and then, actually, they were very nice.
They went into my law office.
Yeah, of course, because you have devices in both places. And it usually it's the other way around. Not only do they search my office, they search my home as well. That would be the fallback. Why are they looking at my house if this is a business problem?
And when I did their job for 17 years, and I prosecuted like real criminals.
Right.
And you never got anybody as big a fish as you.
And I never, and I never would have thought of breaking into a lawyer's office.
Right.
Unless a murder.
They didn't break into it. No, and unless what? Unless they were a mobster? Unless what?
And I never would have thought of breaking into a lawyer's office.
Right.
Unless a murder was going on inside.
Unless a murder was going on inside. Bullshit. You're telling me they didn't prosecute mob lawyers? Are you nuts?
They're just looking for
including lawyers for terrorists, lawyers for organized criminals.
Right.
There's something called the Sixth Amendment in this country that the Democrats have completely trashed.
Which doesn't cover mob lawyers. What are you talking about?
Trashed. For him, for me, for everyone else.
They must have been very confused. We got the iCloud here. It's just a patient, it's just a lawyer confidential. And a lot of ABBA. He's an ABBA fan. What is this?
It's a great distraction. And no, he's not. I'm sure they didn't look at his iCloud for 2 years and then go to a grand jury with he likes ABBA, asshat.
You have Mamma Mia 2 soundtrack?
Let's let the world know.
If they took a good look at my my electronics, they find out I have 32,000 songs, and they're mostly opera and classical music.
Oh, okay.
So I probably put them to sleep.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I know you were compliant. I mean, even the media, they were looking for something that just said...
Compliant? He said the FBI guys nearly broke down his door. He just said the same shit on your show again. It's a lie.
Mayor Giuliani and Rudy Giuliani let them in and said, okay, sure.
Bullshit.
And then you talked about how you offered them the Hunter Biden hard drive, if I'm not mistaken. I want to make sure I'm not getting this wrong. So they go in.
You are getting this wrong. First of all, they don't exist. Secondly, they have a warrant for communication devices because that's why they wanted his iCloud. It will reflect in the material communication devices. And by the way, they don't need external hard drives to figure out what's gone through your laptop, especially when you're an old fart like him and you don't know what a DOD wipe is.
Go into your house. They say it's because you represented someone from the Ukraine, right, who you say that you don't. And this is something that obviously will be hashed out.
Right, okay.
But something that is not in dispute at all is you offered them a hard drive with, from what we understand, at the very least, multiple felonies and potentially serious felonies.
Well, no, we don't know that. You have to take his word for it, and his word doesn't mean shit. And by the way, if you believe him, that the hard drives contain what they say, what he says they do, then you, Steven Crowder, support the idea that someone should interfere with evidence and make copies of child porn for distribution.
And they have no interest.
Sure.
Because no, it's not that they have no interest. They cannot take them because their warrant was for electronic communication devices. It's why they didn't take the television set.
Sure. There's one little piece on the hard drive in which 5 days before he signs the affidavit under oath that he's not a drug addict in order to get a .38 revolver, he's seen driving a car with a crack pipe in his mouth.
Yeah.
So that would be a 10.
So what did he do? Did he write that down in the hard drive? Is it in his journal? In the hard drive? Was the entry on a specific date? Was it the day after his dad launched his campaign? Was it part of the early drafts of his book, Rudy? So we just take that for granted, right? Right, Stephen? That's how we're going to do it? You just feel that it's true? You haven't seen it. You haven't been able to check the metadata yourself. He's not going to give you a copy. You don't have enough money. Honest to God.
That would be a 10-year felony.
Is the host wearing a backpack? No, he always wears a gun. He has Walter Handguns is one of his sponsors, so he always has a gun. I'm not kidding. He always wears a gun on the air. I don't know if he wears it the rest of the day. I'm assuming so, but he wears it in studio because as much of it as his staff are an entire yup clan. Yep. Basically for anything that he says, I guess he also fears that there might be an uprising and he might have to put one of them down, I suppose. Whatever. Hopefully there's, rubber bullets or blanks in there, something like that, in case of a misfire in the studio.
Right out,
Well, I don't know. You're speaking out of turn. What's the half-life on crack? He could be out of the system.
Also, you could calculate he was sort of in and out of rehabilitation about every year and a half.
Right.
So, when you're in rehab, you've kicked it, so you can arguably say, none of these guys, by the way, neither one of these guys would be against Mike Lindell saying that he should be able to have a concealed carry permit because he doesn't have a drug problem because Jesus set him free.
Right.
So I'm not beating up on him for being a drug addict. That's a different kind of problem.
No, that's what Crowder's trying to do.
What I'm saying is anybody else who went and got a gun and said they weren't an addict and they've been in and out of rehabilitation 8 times would be arrested immediately.
Right.
If you
No. Honest to God, I don't know what the form looks like. Yeah.
If you had a hard drive,
I don't think you have to admit to former drug use. Are you addicted currently? No. You could look at it that way. But did he go to jail for it? Does he have a criminal record for it? Is that what it's referring to? I don't know, because we have to take his word for what it says and what it doesn't say.
Drive from somebody where it is announced they are a danger to children, and a psychiatrist doesn't want him near those children.
No, that's not the case. That was the argument in a debate about the children. In text messages that he openly admits that his behavior was misconstrued. It was what someone else said about him. Rudy, let me go with this. Would you and Steven Crowder like it if anyone could get your rights taken away because of what they say about you? Not what a court has found about you, not what you have admitted to yourself or been found guilty about lying about, for example, like, I don't know, the possession of child porn or making an unsafe work environment by carrying a loaded chambered gun at all times when you're surrounded by nothing but yup-yups. Would you be okay, would both of you be okay with someone taking, I don't know, Rudy, your ex-wife's word for the fact that you're engaged with Ukrainian prostitutes and drug and arms dealers under the guise of being a security expert while not registering as a foreign agent?
And there are some pictures that I'll let other people.
If you're getting a concealed permit, then ask if you've taken illegal drugs. Okay, that's cool. I don't know that he was getting a concealed permit, Moms Russo. I think it was just the purchase of the gun. That's the thing.
Describe. The FBI and the police would be in that house in a minute.
Yeah.
To protect the children. But I guess the Biden children are entitled to protection. They're being protected by the crime family.
Yeah, you know what's...
Oh, are they? Are they? Really? Because they seem healthy. They're the ones that asked Pop to run.
Interesting to me is before this story, here's kind of when I read this story, I said, oh, well, this explains something. Because before this story, the media was trying to say that you illegally maybe hacked or stole the hard drive. Remember?
No. The first story was that the original hard drive, the original computer itself, was found at the home of Keith Abloh, the Fox News shrink, who alleged that Hunter was a patient and had left it there during one of their sessions, and that he had passed it to Rudy Giuliani through a friend. That was the first version. And then Keith Abloh got busted for drugging and having sex with his patients, and getting some of them, addicts, illicit drugs. And he lost his job at Fox and that whole thing. And so it didn't really, that's when the blind repair shop dude magically appeared, magically had this laptop that he magically passed to Rudy through the exact same lawyer friend who also knew Keith Abloh. And by the way, that was still a copy, the one at Keith Abloh's house, because the FBI raided it and found a hard drive or a computer that was alleged to be Hunter's, and they gave it back to him. Meaning that either that was the original one and they copied it and then they made copies of copies. And that's when they started adding stuff in, or Keith Abloh stole it in that process so they could make the fake one. Which, again, this is where the chain of evidence problem really comes to mind. But let's see. Maybe he asks the right question. We'll see.
And you said no.
Yeah, I remember.
And you said
all the lies.
Well, I think it's confirmed through this because you said no. He was likely high and gave it to Geek Squad or whatever, and someone called you and you explained the law. And the fact that the FBI didn't take it means to me, well,
they did take it. They did take it. According to him. Well, they took a copy.
Well, if it was taken under these kinds of circumstances where you would have committed a crime, it would have been their duty to take it. So the FBI doesn't believe that it was obtained illegally.
They don't believe it's real.
The FBI believes me. Otherwise, they would have taken it. I could have been lying to them.
Right.
Could have been.
No, they're talking about the hard drives. Those are copies. Those are hard drives. They did not have a warrant for every hard drive he has. They had a warrant for his iCloud, and then they had a warrant for his communication devices. That means laptops, iPads, and phones. They didn't take his television. They didn't take his microwave. They didn't take his old dial-up phone. They didn't take his answering machine from 1987. They didn't take any number of calculators in the home, Stephen. They took communication devices. Whatever blackmail he is storing on hard drives is not covered in the warrant. And to some degree, it's not your fault. Because you're stupid and you're listening to someone who's even dumber than you are about this topic. I'm sure you know quite a bit about, filing the serial number off of a junk gun and leaving it in the trunk of a car.
Vladimir Putin's hard drive.
Just a bunch of...
Yeah, but that's a bigger warrant. And the fact that you're laughing about the fact that it could be is fun.
Pictures of him naked on horses.
Trump's hard drive.
Yeah.
It could have been anybody's hard drive.
Well, if it was Donald Trump's hard drive, they, again, wouldn't have access to it or whatever. They didn't need it. They needed communication devices. Can we just change this to dumber with Crowder? It makes as much sense.
I mean, it could have been the most incriminating hard drive I possessed about all the crimes they imagine I commit.
Yeah, but they don't have a warrant for that. They had a warrant for your iCloud, and then they have a warrant for the communication devices, the electronic devices in your home. Sorry.
They took my word for it. It didn't say Hunter Biden's hard drive. Black box. Like, you believe me? I'm the guy you got to break the door down.
See this? Again, shitting on the FBI, they broke down his door. Can you imagine? Think about that for a second. Rudy Giuliani, former head of SDNY, former mayor in New York, is saying the FBI broke down his door at 6 a.m. Now, we all know they didn't, and he walked this back before when he was on Tucker. He caught himself saying it on Tucker. Now he's on Crowder. It doesn't matter. You can lie on this show all you want to. Nobody gives a shit, and Crowder's not going to push back because you shit on law enforcement. You understand? Like, you want to talk about back the blue and nonsense? Rudy Giuliani knows full well the viciousness of some of Trump's supporters. He's talking to a guy who thinks the sun shines out of Trump's ass and wears a gun to work. And they, between the two of them, are laughing about the fact that the FBI is just going to unconstitutionally kick down the door of patriots. What's the answer to that? When you hear another channel talk about, the tree of liberty needing to be watered with the blood of patriots and tyrants, these guys are talking about killing FBI agents right now.
Because he's going to destroy evidence.
Right.
And I'm showing you these two things, and I'm telling you, don't bother to take it.
Yeah.
Or this is Hunter Biden's. And you say, okay, yeah, fine. It's Hunter Biden, you can keep it.
Well, next time what you just do is you label your cloud Hunter Biden.
That's what I should have done. I should have put everything, Hunter Biden on everything, and Rudy Giuliani and Donald Trump on the hard.
Well, it wouldn't work because if it was a computer or a phone, they would have taken it anyways. They found 2 of your burner phones, which didn't have anybody's account number on them at all. You said they were somebody else's, but they actually belonged to nobody's, which is like the phones he uses in Europe, the ones that are getting him in deep shit. And then, of course, the laptops, he didn't have Hunter Biden's laptop, or they would have taken it. They took his ex-wife's laptop, which was like slid down between a couch and the wall because he'd stolen it from his ex-wife when he was, I guess, trying to lower her alimony. I don't know how that works.
Hard drives.
Yeah,
and afterwards, if they say, why did you do that? I'd say, just kind of my own security code.
Yes, and the only thing you label Rudy Giuliani is a cabinet full of mouse traps. Hold on. Actually, one of my friends here, Jill, had they have a...
Yeah, ask them. They got a lot of questions for you, Rudy.
A lot of questions for you. Everyone here was excited. So, Jill, go ahead. Apple, Android, Spotify. It's a good way for us to...
Mayor Giuliani, so I want to put this in context. So they're coming in and claiming that you did something wrong regarding Ukraine. How does it make you feel when Donald Trump was trying to be impeached over comments on Ukraine? They're trying to...
Comments? Really? Was it they were impeaching him about, like, he tweeted something about Ukraine? He didn't threaten the president of Ukraine and tell him that Rudy would really tell him the real deal. You're going to have to talk to Rudy about this. And Rudy was actively negotiating the president of Ukraine, if he wanted military assistance, was going to have to go on television and say, yeah, we're looking into Hunter Biden. And when he didn't do that, he withheld the military support for as long as he possibly could. Feel? Comments? Was that what he was? He was comments. All right.
To arrest you or indict you for something over Ukraine. But then Joe Biden can go on camera and brag about bribing essentially the Ukrainian government to...
No, that's because you're dumb. He wasn't bragging about bribing the Ukrainian government. They were withholding U.S. taxpayer funds in loan guarantees from Ukraine unless they cleaned up the Russian sock puppets in their own government. And there were a bunch of people they got rid of, but there was one guy left, and Joe was the point man on it, And that's why he's like, yeah, well, I will call the president. And Biden said, call him. He was bragging about being the guy who got it done.
To fire
I love how they're like, he was caught on tape. He was in an auditorium.
a prosecutor. How does that make? Do you feel like you're living in bizarro world at this point?
Well, no, he doesn't live in bizarre world. He lives in a glory hole, one of the finest oak-carved glory holes this side of Kazakhstan.
Yeah, maybe I'm living in Berlin before the wall came down. Or
yeah, that's what it's like. Yeah, you're exactly like all the people in East Berlin who were shot if they tried to escape. Jesus Christ! And tell him again. Tell this dipshit how the FBI broke into your house at 6 a.m. You lying shitbird. And then tell us, by the way, the next time an FBI agent gets shot as they're coming through the door with the U.S. Marshals doing a real no-knock on like the child pornographer that they caught in January. Remember that dude? Yeah. We buried 2 FBI agents because of that asshole. That's a door they really had to kick. Have you ever heard Rudy lament those people? Have you heard anybody on Crowder's show lament those people? He might have. I haven't heard it. But this asshole can pretend that FBI agents that showed up with a warrant after a grand jury was convened, after 2 years of investigation, to politely gather his electronic communication devices, because that's what they were asking for. This asshole will let him float. Both of them will float that the FBI agent are acting as jackbooted thugs. And the next time somebody G. Gordon Liddy's an FBI agent, these guys will pretend it didn't happen.
Maybe I'm living in Russia or maybe I'm living in China.
Right.
I mean, yeah, many
You're living in neither, you asshole.
times during this investigation, I've thought that the Democrats and Biden have completely changed the nature of our country. I mean, the fact is that there are crimes that are crying out to the FBI to deal with, and they're not. And what they're doing is they're spending time conducting investigations to try to discover a crime. That's what.
I'm sorry, to discover a crime. So the Federal Bureau of Investigation is investigating things after you brought a contrived copy of a hard drive with digital links to Ukraine and Russia in its metadata, guaranteed. And after looking at it, they went, holy shit, this guy is either the dumbest son of a bitch in the world or an absolute criminal. We need a warrant to find out which it is. Because if it's the first one, we need to have an intervention and go after the people that are manipulating him. And if it's the second one, we're going to need a warrant to look at his devices because he's a crook. And guess how that rolled out? And guess what he's doing right now? He's sitting under a fry light in his glory hole office in Manhattan, bitching to Steven Crowder that the FBI are anti-constitutional thugs.
That's what they're doing to the president in New York. They just opened an investigation.
Right.
They don't have a crime.
Yeah, they do. They have too many crimes, or they would have gone after him earlier.
Looking for a crime.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if that was the standard. We go through the phone book and we pick out every one of 20 people. Then we just study their whole life and say, we're going to try to find a crime on that guy.
Really? Is that how it works? Is that how you used to do it, Rudy?
Then that woman.
Yeah.
That's not America. America is there's evidence of a crime.
Yeah, there's plenty of evidence of a crime. I mean, like Trump has $72 million worth of taxpayer money that he's refusing to return, and he's fighting an audit that found that the $72 million he was given in a tax refund is not justified and is not his money, and he's fighting to not give it back. And then they found out in looking into that, holy shit, he got a loan the same year he was telling us that he was losing money. What bank gives loans to people on that scale when their buildings are losing money at that level? As a matter of fact, there's no justifiable reason. And this is a giant bank with that has a relationship with the Fed, which has to justify its loaning practices, which means he must have told the IRS one story and the bank another one. And then they went and interviewed Michael Cohen, and they've got Alan Weisselberg, and both of them went, yeah, it's kind of basically what we did all the fucking time. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Yeah, that was not, we didn't just do that to cover our asses on the 72 million. That's the actual business model of the Trump organization.
Like real evidence of a crime.
Right.
We don't
That's real evidence.
intrude somebody's life unless we have probable cause to believe they committed a crime.
Yeah.
There's plenty. There's lots.
They don't have any probable cause to believe I committed any crime.
Right.
Or Donald Trump committed. And if they
Well, clearly they do. I mean, they have 2 years of your iCloud. They know.
had it, they'd have indicted me a year ago. They've had
No, they wouldn't have. You were the president's lawyer, and so it was going to take a while to build a case. That's like saying Nixon got reelected while they were looking into Watergate, dummy.
the damn thing for two and a half years.
Right.
So
Yeah.
searching. Can we find something to nail this guy with? Can we find, as if you're going after the head of the terrorism or the head of organized crime?
Right.
But
Yeah, that's pretty much the. And by the way, with the who is that? Michael? No, hold on. 1 second. Quit it. Quit this. God, that's so annoying. Okay, here we go. Sorry.
for people, just in general, in particular.
Why is he right in front of his camera? I don't know. I don't know why he has like the table lamp turned up to his face and he's sitting right under a fry light.
Presidents, you don't go torture them with an analysis of their entire life.
Torture them with an analysis of their entire life? They're looking at financial crimes. They're going to look at your books and the books of your company.
This is very, very dangerous, and we're turning into a different kind of country, a much more authoritarian, a country that looks more like the states being run by Democrat governors like Whitmer and Cuomo. That's the model.
Don't say her name.
What to do.
If you say her name, I throw up a little and I have to swallow it.
Gretchen?
Yeah, you have two Michiganders here, and I got to tell you,
yeah, there's very little difference between Michigan and North Korea.
Whitmer.
She just keeps. Again, I'm gonna have the acid reflux. Stop, and then Dave's gonna hurl. No, I was born in Detroit, and we still spend a lot of time. Most of my family lives there. Dave here is from Michigan.
Yes.
And I don't recognize the state anymore. And I have said this before, and people will get really.
Well, I mean, yeah, the militias are still there, so you have that.
Really upset. People got upset when I said, look, I don't think Hillary Clinton is evil. I think she's a politician who will say whatever she will. I think she's corrupt, obviously. But I always said back then, I said, I have a much bigger problem with Nancy Pelosi because she seems to really love exerting power. I don't think I've ever seen an American politician who enjoys exerting power just to prove that she can more than Governor Gretchen Whitmer. I think it's a...
Really? And by the way, these are both Trump fans.
It really is a different level from politicians who I disagree with.
You're right. I would say there are three of them that share.
How do you think it will turn first? Trump, Don Jr., Ivanka, Eric, or Melania when NYC comes knocking? I think there's a chance that Jared will run afoul of it first, and then Don Jr. will be the one that's gonna brought in for the most questioning because he ran the company for 4 years, allegedly. Eric didn't.
Share that in common. Her, Cuomo, and the
Pelosi?
What's his name?
Oh, Schumer?
Newsom.
Oh, Schumer. Well, sure.
Yeah.
So I think what happens is I think socialism leads to that.
Yeah.
I think when you believe the government, and let's call it in this case, the government taking over everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what's happening. The government is taking over everything. Rudy, tell them what it's like. The government taking as in that's why we're guaranteeing loans in PPP and forgiving them if you keep your employees on. Why would the government, if the goal was Chinese level control over all businesses or Russian oligarchical control of all businesses, or straight up socialism, why would the Pelosi-run House of Representatives present a bill that forgives PPP loans if people keep their employees on? And why would it receive a majority of votes in the House and all of the Democrats? Why? Why would you forgive PPP loans if that was the goal? You would never.
When you think the government takes over everything and can do it better, you become an authoritarian.
Yeah.
What part are they taking over?
Because then everybody who's doing it differently is some kind of a fool or a person who has to be ordered around. I mean, that's basically what corrupts socialism 27 out of 27 times. And it's happening to us. We just don't recognize it.
Because it's not?
We are turning into a socialist country.
How? Based on what? What? Democratic taxation?
Well, I think a big part of that, and I wanted to ask you about this, but I've talked about this trend here, and this happens in socialist countries. With Democrats, it seems right now that they're looking to make criminals of everyday Americans and looking to turn actual criminals into a voting base. What do I mean by that? Well, for example, we talk about the riots. Is it illegal to stand in the middle of a freeway? Yeah, but we don't enforce those laws. But if someone tries to make it through the...
It's because it was an act of protest. If you stop a car and start banging on it, then that's when you can start arresting people if there's enough cops to actually deal with it. Distinction.
Freeway, because their safety is impeded, not to mention their ability to simply freely travel. They are now a criminal. We want to criminalize firearms.
No, being stuck in traffic because people have blocked the freeway does not make you a criminal.
That actually the AR-15 is the most popular rifle in the United States, certainly the most popular platform, thereby making Americans into criminals, but we release 60...
No, because 20% of Americans have somewhere in the order of like 65% of the guns, ballpark. Like there's a lot of people that own one shotgun, one hunting rifle, one handgun, and then there's assholes like these guys that stack them and let them rot and just have dozens of them and buy them like toys, service them rarely, don't oil them, keep them around mostly as, what effectively would eventually they'll have a lampshade on top of them, like part of the Ted Nugent home collection. Those are the people who have all the AR-15s. And the AR-15 is not a special gun in terms of its rifle capacity. It's got, you can put a longer magazine on it because it's a wannabe M16. It looks macho, that's why it sells, because it's got a very specific consumer base.
60-something thousand violent felons in California. Your home city of New York, hundreds of these felons were released and 450 arrests within, I think it was 3 months again. So you look at criminals being released and Americans turned into criminals, and that's something that you see with every socialist regime, not to be extreme.
So we should get rid of cash bail is what you're saying, so that real Americans can get out.
But that's necessary.
Well, I mean, just look at last summer.
Yeah, you mean when Trump was president?
I don't know how many riots we had.
I mean, I lost track of, I can't imagine having to count all the Trump riots that there were.
Whatever. In every state run by a Democrat,
You mean the ones that have the biggest cities that make the most money?
Rioter was released from prison within a short period of time.
No. Protesters were. Rioters were often kept.
We have whatever you want to call what happened at the Capitol on January 6th.
A seditious, traitorous attack on our democracy.
It was a one-day event.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Not, for example, in Portland, a one-year event.
Right.
Yeah, but the difference is that the asshats on January 6th didn't wear masks. So the FBI is asking the public's help to find these people. Whereas in Portland, a lot of the people were masked, and would raise the question of when you are, in terms of Antifa, the essential problem with anybody who gathers in the name of Antifa is that you do not know, unless you rode in the same car together, whether the person wearing a mask to your right is there for the same reasons you are. It's why in a stable society, we don't wear masks or cover our faces in political protests, because that's how the agent provocateurs show up. Ask Paul Manafort.
Right.
Or in...
By the way, if you're Antifa and you enjoy being Antifa, show your fucking face. If you don't believe in showing your face, then you're not Antifa.
New York,
Not really.
2 week
You might call yourself that, but you're not.
event. It was a one-day event. It was over. No damage to any congressperson, right?
No damage to any congressperson? Yeah, because Ashley Babbitt was shot and it stopped everybody from coming through before they could get everybody that was behind him cleared.
Right.
One person killed, and that was a person who was unarmed and engaged in the demonstration.
Yeah, woman.
Sorry, she was unarmed. So the cop knew that she was unarmed and shot her dead. She didn't have a pipe bomb in her backpack. She didn't have a knife. She didn't have a gun. She was just with a mob of people with backpacks no one had looked into. She was just no rope, no duct tape. She didn't have a pistol to lead people to the gallows. Nobody spirited her gun away after she was shot. No, none of that. You know that for a fact, Rudy?
A woman.
And that case was sort of buried. We don't even know who did it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't.
Yes, we do. It was Capitol Security.
The circumstances, nobody will tell you.
Right.
Even though, gosh, if that were believe me, if that were a white officer and a black woman,
right,
and the gun comes out and the black woman gets shot and she's unarmed, what do you think would happen?
Yeah.
If she was with a giant mob of people bashing in a window in the Capitol on a day like that, if she had a Confederate flag with her, no, it wouldn't matter.
And people should be upset.
We'd have riots.
Right.
No, they shouldn't. You can't bash a window and be the first one through the window and not receive fire when the entirety of our government is the function of our government is transitioning, and you're there to stop it.
People should be upset by that.
Oh yeah, but not about the cop that was beaten and tasered till he had a heart attack, or the other guy who had his ribs crushed, or the cop who was getting his eyes gouged out, or Sicknick who died. No. How about the two that committed suicide after what they'd been through? What about those guys? We shouldn't be upset about that? I mean, if we're just going by the numbers, we're like, nobody was hurt, but only one woman died. Okay, if we want to go by who died, I mean, obviously you don't give a shit about the cops. Why would you? You wear a gun to work.
It's not as if we have an equal system of justice.
Right.
We do have an equal system of justice.
We have a double standard, and until
we don't have a double standard. The only double standard about it is that when it comes to white-collar criminals and high-level, high-profile people, thanks to Nixon and OJ, the FBI and the DOJ slow rolls all of those cases and crosses their T's and dots their I's twice because it's easier for you guys to go on programs like this and sell your way out of it and muddy the jury pool.
Until we solve that, this country is going to be bitterly disunited.
Right. So before
bitterly disunited, just a poet.
People can't live with these demonstrations of Black Lives Matter demonstrates all summer. They don't have to wear masks. They're yelling, screaming, and spitting each other's face. People go to church, and if it's more than 20%, the minister gets arrested.
Right.
He didn't get arrested. And secondly, if you have a church and you gathered more than 20% of your congregation together during COVID, you were without masks, if you were just attempting to murder a 20% or 10% of that group, especially the older people, so maybe more, and you'd be arrested for endangering lives. And by the way, there's a difference between a bunch of people deciding to go out because there's an event going on and making their own decision about that, and people coordinated and go, come in here in this enclosed space. But again, freedoms, right? Sorry. And by the way, watch as the summer comes in and people go back to church pretty regularly, especially as people have been vaccinated. This talking point is dead in the water.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Or if we're talking about, like, in Michigan, Governor Whitmer, who says, well, I forgot, sorry, but there are restaurant owners who've been actually arrested, actually incarcerated for committing the same violations that she has. Let me ask you this before we...
Yeah, because it's for commerce.
Go. If there's one thing you want people to know about kind of, this sort of controversy surrounding you right now, because it's tough to keep track, what is it that you think Americans should pinpoint or be aware of?
That both of you support the idea that if you ever come in possession of child porn, you should copy it as much as you can and pass out those copies. That this is something that Steven Crowder and Rudy Giuliani completely agree on. That having multiple copies of child pornography in your home at all times and continuing to make copies of it is the true Donald Trump patriotic maggot way of doing things. Nice, Stephen. Good work.
If you have to leave.
Keep an eye on what I'm revealing and what I'm bringing out, because that's.
You mean nothing? You mean the same 6 pieces of paper that you're wagging around while you will not release the entire hard drive?
More important than what happens to me.
Well, that's
Really? Because you were going to give those hard drives to the FBI agents, but you wouldn't give them to the press?
Because our country is on the way to being a different kind of country, a different form of
No, it isn't. It was. It's not now.
government, a different set of values, a different way of life. And if you don't want that to happen, you got to get involved. You got to get involved with groups that want to stop this, and you got to get involved for 2020. This time, no matter how.
Yeah, get involved for 2020. Really, everybody needs to really. Thanks, Rudy. Big get out the vote. So if you haven't registered to vote 7 months before the election last year, get a time machine.
No matter what they do, we got to win in 2020.
Yes, we do. I agree. Yes, no matter what happens, that we've got to win in 2020.
24. Yeah, we already did 20.
You've got to 2022. You've got to understand how important the political process is.
Right.
Because these people are trying to take it away from you. They're even trying to take away a fair vote.
No, they're not. I mean, the Republicans. Are we talking about the same people again?
Right. And they want to try to create a one-party system. Nobody is exaggerating it. They would not be going after me like this if what I was saying wasn't that serious.
Yeah, they would. They would go after you if you were a criminal. Like nobody gave that's like, I mean, it's an extreme example. In no way is Rudy Giuliani like Charles Manson, but it's like saying they went after Charles Manson simply because they didn't like his political leanings or his taste in music.
No, I think you're absolutely right.
That's because you're both dumb. Stephen, you're a dumb person. You're dumb. I mean, I know you float on the idea that you're smart and you're surrounded by yups who make you think you are. But specifically on this issue, you're a fucking dunce. And the fact that you support him making multiple copies of things that you believe he believes is actual child porn and passing it around and keeping the original from the FBI, thereby ruining the chain of evidence if it indeed was real, which is a criminal act that would allow a criminal to go free. Again, dumb.
More about it than anybody, so they want to do whatever they can to destroy my credibility.
No,
you have none. They literally don't give a shit. They're going after you because you broke the law. No one cares about your credibility. If you had any credibility, the Hunter Biden laptop would have actually shown up last year for real, and it would have had a real impact because people who looked at it would have gone, well, you can't argue with that.
No, I know. Follow me on Instagram. We're a lot of...
Jesus, that's it? What is... Christ, I need to do a photo shoot, apparently. 2 cigars out of 3, whatever. And then, he's wearing, I see. He's dressed like Marty McFly, so that's from a sketch they did. It's about something. That he, went back to 1955 and wanted to stay. I mean, and what's on the pocket? Is that a walkie-talkie on his pocket? I don't know. It's just happy to see me.
We're Louder with Crowder. You can follow us there. We have some content that goes up.
Yeah, some.
And look, the best way you can tune into this show, it's a live show, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, so that way you don't need to worry about notifications, about subscribing.
Yeah, you don't have to do it. I'm on at 3 o'clock every day Pacific time, so, except Thursdays, family FaceTime being what it is. Although, time does shift around when Cam is here. I'll keep you posted. Anyways, cheers, guys. I'm going to sign off now. Yet another situation where I'm shocked at the low quality of Steven Crowder's arguments, considering his history. And I'm not a huge follower. I mean, I've seen some of his, his change my mind gatherings about certain things. And again, those are, some of them are long form because the first ones were edited, I guess, and people gave him shit about it or whatever. And I've watched a couple of them long form, and at least there's the illusion of some sort of intellectual curiosity in some of these areas. But in a couple of areas, the last two examples that have passed through my transom are really, on a logical level, pathetic. So, yeah. Well, I'm sure that won't change. Oh, and thanks so much, Lee. And thanks, everybody, for jumping over. Now that we're back on YouTube, I'm going to craft, don't forget, go to fwank.com and subscribe on Twitch, twitch.tv/Hal Sparks. Fwank will take you there. And but I'll be back tomorrow at my regular time. I'm looking forward. I mean, there's a couple things. Camden is doing great. We're gonna go play some video games. I'm gonna go hang out with my kid and have some dinner, and we're gonna watch. I think we're watching King Kong versus Godzilla versus King Kong tonight. I think that's what we're doing. So, it'll be a good time. So, anyways, I appreciate you guys. Thanks, guys, for fighting through on YouTube, and thanks for letting me know that it was back up. And please subscribe at fwank.com. If you're an Amazon Prime member, it won't cost you a dime. And I will see you guys tomorrow, 3 o'clock. I went long, I know, but I appreciate it. It was worth it, just to get us up and running again. Holy smokes. All right, cheers.